Hello everyone, welcome back to a Skeleton's Library. Today, we have a pretty simple video. I just kind of wanted to make a video about my top 10 fictional books. Kind of just as a placeholder because I've had a very splintered reading journey where I read a shit ton as a teen. Then for years, like late teens to early 20s, it was nothing but nonfiction. I was just like, I'll just read nonfiction. And like that was probably to like 21, 22. I got all that, and after that it's just been read books here and there, kind of do really binge things of, oh, this series caught my attention, I'm just gonna boom in like a week, and then I read again for months. Now that I'm back into trying to be a more consistent reader again, especially with the channel, I wanted to have a top 10 fictional books video as a good little benchmark to see if and how things change. This list really is in no order. I also didn't think too hard about it. Like, this is just very, what could I think of that I think fits this list? I think these are generally my top 10. So, very liable for change. I think it would be fun to record a new version of this every year or so and see how many books have like switched around and what's changed in my taste and such. But for now, this is my top 10. Again, no particular order. The only real definitive spot right now is number 1, like 2. There's only like, I know these are here. I know these are going to be here for a while. So, besides that, let's just get right into it. So, as you can see, starting off, we have The Great Gatsby. And I've always had kind of a special relationship with this book because I first read it in 11th grade English, as it was my teacher's favorite book, so she always taught it in her classes. And back then I was like kind of like a little asshole contrarian, so I was like, whatever, this book's stupid, it's boring, I don't care. Then for 12th grade, I took AP English, and I had her again because she was the teacher for AP English. She had once again she taught this in this class, and then there was a big project at the end surrounding it, at least for me. So I spent a lot of time interfacing with this book. As a result, I've just kind of grown to appreciate and look back on it a lot more fondly. Again, at first, you just ignorant kid, you're interfacing with it at a very surface level. But I appreciate it a lot more and all the things it's doing and how it's kind of tearing down the American dream and this myth of no matter what, you can just start over and become a new person. One of the great American myths is the idea of starting over, of being able to make it. I really appreciate how this book disillusions that idea with Gatsby, how it shows the American dream and like the faults of it. I appreciate how it shows obsession. It really is a special book, and I've come to appreciate it a lot more, especially with like the narrative style. I like that you don't follow Jay or any of these people. I want to say the narrator's name is Nick. I'm forgetting that character's name. I like the way it's structured. I like everything about it. I think it's a really essential tale, especially in American literature. It's very easy to see why it's an American classic, and I think it will remain that way for many more years to come. At number 9, we have House of Leaves, which I think I read maybe not last year, maybe the year before. I feel like everyone knows what this book is. It's probably the most well-known piece of ergodic literature. And it's one of those books that seems so intimidating on the surface level, like to get into. And then you do, and it's honestly not nearly as hard as you thought it would be. Like, I followed every layer of this story pretty fine. Does it have some ridiculous pages and shit you have to do occasionally to read it? Like, yeah. That's what makes it so fun. It really feels like such a journey and experience. And it's so flush with so many details and things that this is a book I'm sure with rereads I'm just going to find more and more stuff or like notice different things and be like, oh, holy shit. I also just love like every theory and possible interpretation of this book. They're all so cool. I don't know. It's just kind of like a masterwork. This might be Dan Lewinsky's debut. I can't remember. I feel like I remember hearing it was, and if so, man, it's crazy. It's just crazy. all the things this book is doing. It's really firing on all cylinders. If you want to read it, you've been intimidated, just do it. It's honestly not nearly as hard as you think it will be. Next up, we have Neuromancer. Again, just read this recently. It's really stuck with me. I really love the prose of this book and how Gibson describes things. It's one of my favorite opening lines in all of fiction. It's a genre I'm a big fan of that I think becomes more poignant every day. I just think a lot of it has aged very well. Some parts definitely not has aged well, but I think for the most part is aged pretty well. It's just really cool. It's oozing with the style. And it's easy to just see why it's such a foundational book for the genre. And next up we have Prince of Thorns, and this is just a book that I read when I was a kid and got very attached to, so there's a lot of nostalgia for me. And the fact that young me really attached himself to this book. I know this book is super grimdark and too edgy for a lot of people with how dark it is. I don't know. Edgy me, I was super edgy as a kid. Still edgy, but you know, super edgy as a kid. And I've always liked villains. So I really actually like following these despicable ass characters. It's part of the fun for me. I know some people need that hero that they can root for, but for me, I have plenty of fun like following and even rooting for a villain. Like these books don't try to hide or make George super redeemable. Like they start with him doing some of the most irredeemable stuff possible at like the first few pages of the first book here. And I know with how dark and edgy they are, I think Mike's Book Reviews, a channel I like to watch, I think he said at some point that he couldn't get through this like series and he thought it was nihilistic. And that's a notion I can see mistaking, but especially with how the third book ends, I really don't think it's nihilistic at all. It might be the opposite to me, where the worst person you've ever met can still find that moment of good and realize he has to sacrifice himself for the greater good. So like, I don't think Mike made it that far, to be fair. So if you don't make it that far, I can fully understand thinking it has attitude, when in reality, I think the grand message in the final book is even the worst fucking people can find that one moment of good and change the whole world, which I think is almost beautiful in a really fucked up way. Because again, there's one of the worst humans you'll ever read about is little George here. Little 13-year-old George, he's a little monster. I really just, again, read it as a kid. Read it as a teen, loved it. Really attached myself to it. It was my favorite fantasy book for so long that I think it's still probably up there in my top 10. Next up, we have The Tragedy of Othello. And this has always been my favorite Shakespearean tragedy. I really like Iago as a villain. I find the whole plot very fun. And I even remember as a teen seeing the Punisher movie with Thomas Jane and being like, oh my god, they took from Othello. Whoa, that's so cool. I love the Thomas Jane movie like way more than I probably should have, just because I was like, whoa, they're doing Othello type fucking plot. Whoa. And yeah, just underappreciated. Definitely give it a shot if you have any interest in Shakespeare or read some of them and like them. Very good play. Next up, we have Before They Are Hanged by Joe Abercrombie. You know, everyone knows the First Lost trilogy is a masterpiece. For this specific series, I think 2 always really stood out to me because I kind of love the hero's journey arc they do in the book and how it's kind of flipped on its head at the end. I really just enjoyed that whole journey. I think for me it's this book, then the first, and the third. And for this video, I was only allowing 1 of each series. I feel like 1 and 2 might be pretty interchangeable here, and 3 I feel like is a little less, but again, just general placeholder. I think this one's definitely my favorite of the First Law. Just love all the characters, loved all the storylines in this. It's what really was like, oh fuck, I'm so into this book right now. I think I don't know, I've read it fucking fast. I know that. I read it very fast, maybe a day or 2. I'll just through this book. Next up, we have The Strength of the Few, which anyone who's seen my video, I mean, this is kind of like, it's special in the way that this is the whole inspiration almost for the channel of, I want this to be my first video. Which is funny because it wasn't my first video, because my ass randomly thought of a little rant I want to do about perfectionism being the enemy of creativity. So I made that my first video. And this is the review that follows it right after. And I do think my video, I think there's some criticism or feelings that I might take it down a bit, the score, but not too much. Like, overall, I really love this book, and everything it does is kind of like perfect for me. I can see why it's divisive to some people. But for me, it just adds so much to the first book, which I also, again, really fucking liked. I feel like this one and that one are pretty interchangeable. I just gave it to this one because I like all the things it adds to this character I already really liked. Diago, I'm forgetting his fake name, so I was using his real name. But Diago is one of my favorite protagonists in anything. I love how flawed he is. I love his characteristics. I love how he almost edges on being too good at things, but then his emotions or something always make him like fuck up, or like he slips, or like something happens that it just stops it from being that like, oh, he's just too good at everything, man. I really appreciate that. I loved all the shit that's added to like not just him but the universe, and the 3 POVs was so cool. It's just, again, I think I love it so much because like it adds so much cool shit to the first book to me. It's just like it expands the world in such an interesting way that I can't get enough of and can't wait for more. Then we have Demon in White. Again, I feel like for Sun Eater here, out of more than even the past two, it's pretty interchangeable. 1, 2, and 3 here. You can put any of them. I'm on book 4, which I have to get back to at some point. I binge read like the first 3 because I was like, this is the fucking best series ever. And then I was like, by 4, I was like, okay, I need to take a break. I just haven't gone back to it. Put Demon in White because I feel like this might be my favorite, but it's so marginal ahead of like 1 and then 2 that it kind of doesn't really matter. You can put any here. This is just the one I decided. Hadrian Marlowe, again, one of my favorite characters in fiction. I love everything this series is doing. Everyone knows the praises of Sun Eater by this point. I feel like there's no one on BookTube or anywhere else that isn't like, holy fuck, Sun Eater is so good. So there should be no surprise to see it up here. Then we have pretty much any version of the complete tales and poems of Edgar Allan Poe. Poe is just probably my biggest influence on me as a creative since I was a kid. I've been reading biographies, his work. I've visited his grave, worn shirts with him on it since I was like 10 or some shit. Like, this is my whole life has been him as my greatest influence as a creative. I love all his stories. I love his poems. I love everything about him as a creator. And yeah, there's not much more to say. Again, this book has kind of formed my whole creative outlook and style. Like, anything I like, it's because of this. My whole like outlook as a creative, the way like I think of things is largely the same macabre sense. I'm like, fuck, this is so good because of him. Again, his greatest influence. I don't think his complete works will ever not be in my top 10 just because of how important they are to me as a person. But yeah, we'll go to number 1. And that's 1984, which might seem like I don't know if it seems like a crazy number 1 where people were like, oh man, how or whatever, but I don't know, I can't even like say I read this as a kid because I just read it like a year or 2 ago. It really was a life-changing piece of literature for me. Just how Orwell has his finger on the pulse of so many things. In this book, is it a perfect fit to things? Of course not, no. It'd be so hard to perfect so many specifics, but so many things in this book can just be pointed in slightly different directions or molded slightly, and it becomes so applicable to like every age. I think it will continue to be applicable to every age. It's one of those malleable classics that's gonna always be timeless. It's one of those books that really made me reflect on myself, my values, and language even. Like, seeing how much he really... It's funny as a writer, it sounds kind of ignorant, considering writing is like my creative output. He really made me see the importance of language and how it shapes people's thinking and represents us as a society. It really made me think more about how I speak and like, hey, you should describe things more, talk like this, like get my thoughts more coherent out there because the way you talk just really reflect the way you think. Stuff like that alongside its anti-authoritarianism message. I know it's just a really good book. I know some people kind of turn on it because the CIA uses like anti-communist propaganda or something, which is already stupid because the book itself tells you that communism and any other like ideology in the story had like long since been erased from its true ideals, and it's just like a placeholder for like the name, even though every government in this world is all the same. They just have different names that are essentially meaningless. So like it's not actually saying anything about communism because the book itself admits, yeah, no, this is literally not communism at all. So I just think it's a really stupid thing some people put on it. Other than that, I really love it. I love the decision to go with Winston, this fucking like asshole, like regular government worker, where he is like a weirdo. He's creepy. He has some fucking. He's super misogynistic, and you kind of see like all these walls and why he is the way he is, and you can even manage to root for him and be on his side because at the end of the day, he was a piece of shit, but he does like generally want the world to be a better place because anything's better than what it is there. This book just does dread so well. It has like this dread and hopelessness just lingering over your shoulders the entire book. I feel like it's better than even any horror like novel or movie. Like it's this inescapable hopelessness that yeah, this isn't gonna end well. And we all know it's hopeless. Nothing's gonna change. We know it. But you still follow along, you're still like, please, 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 you know. I want these characters to actually manage to do something. And then it fucking stabs you in the fucking stomach with that hopelessness and like that reminder. No, this is what this novel is. This is what it's saying. I feel like it's a book everyone should read. One of the most important books ever, to me at least. Who knows, it's a good chance it won't remain my number one forever, but I know it'll remain in my top spot for a long time. And that kind of wraps up my top 10. Let me know your thoughts on the books, what your top 10 is, etc. below. And I look forward to just seeing how this list changes over the years. Other than that, I'll see you next time.